Recall that a beast is a kingdom or nation. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Revelation 13:11. What do you think the land beast looks like? Yes, I have already shown you a picture of him, but humor me. Like a dragon wearing a lambskin. A definition of the land beast, such as this, obviously fits the description of John. He has 2 horns like a lamb, because he is wearing a lambskin, and he speaks like a dragon, because he is a dragon. It should be noted that Revelation calls him the false prophet. Revelation 19:20. Did you know Jesus mentions him, the land beast? Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Matthew 7:15. Are they the same? Note the parallels. Both are called false prophets, both wear sheepskin, and both, though they look like sheep, are really carnivores on the inside, that devour sheep. It is not a coincidence that these parallels exist. So now on to examine Jesus' complete discourse on the false prophet, this wolf in sheep's clothing. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns, or figs of thistles? Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. Not every one that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have cast out devils? And in thy name done many wonderful works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. Matthew 7:15-23. Notice the text naturally divides into 3 sections. The first, dealing with animals. The second, dealing with plants. And the third and last, dealing with humans. Is this text one block? One unit? Is it all about the false prophet? Let's examine the first and last sections. Notice that the first section mentions prophets, and the last section mentions prophesied. Prophets prophesy, parallel ideas. Once again, notice that the first section mentions sheep, and the last section mentions saith unto me, Lord, Lord, and say to me, Lord, Lord. A more complicated parallel, but one nonetheless. Sheep is a term used for Christ's followers, as he is the great shepherd, while one term used by these sheep for Christ is Lord or Master, as they are his disciples, and he their teacher. Once again, parallel ideas. Notice the last section says, Not every one that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, which parallels the first section's sheep's clothing, since professing Christ to be Lord means nothing if we are not truly sheep, but only dressed in sheep's clothing. Lastly, once again, notice that the first section mentions ravening wolves, and the last section mentions work iniquity, or work lawlessness, as opposed to doeth the will of Christ's Father. Another more complicated parallel, but one nonetheless. One who looks good, like a sheep, but even better than a sheep, like an under-shepherd, a prophet, but acts contrary to God's will, is a destructive force to others, a ravening wolf, fooling others by his example into believing you can be Christ's while walking contrary to God, all the while leading them to destruction, for the wages of sin is death. So indeed, Matthew 7:15-23 does give evidence that it is one block, one unit, the last section being a commentary on the first. Here's the text, the structure. As was said, it is one block, one unit, one whole. Note, verse 15, the beginning, and verses 21-23, the end, deal with false prophets. So verses 16-20, the middle, must also. The beginning and end sections were analyzed previously. The only part left to analyze is the middle. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns, or figs of thistles? Even so every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. Verses 16-20. Simply put, these verses are about plant life. Turning to the land beast, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. Revelation 13:11. Coming up out of the earth. What does that sound like? Note that coming up is the Greek word anab-ino. Once again, coming up out of the earth, what does that sound like? Plant growth. Anab-ino, to spring up, as in plant growth. And other fell on good ground, and did yield fruit that sprang up, anab-ino, and increased, and brought forth, some 30, and some 60, and some 100. Mark 4:8. Returning our attention to our false prophet text, Matthew 7:15-23, in particular, verses 16-20, notice the plant life mentioned. 1. Thorns. 2. Thistles. And 3. Corrupt tree. In summary, the land beast of Revelation 13:11 is called the false prophet. It is the false prophet of Matthew 7:15. The land beast is also a plant, coming up from the ground like a plant. Matthew 7:15-23 is a block, a unit, a whole. It is all about the false prophet. At its center it mentions 3 plants. Its false prophet, and thus the land beast, must be one of these. Which plant is the land beast? Thorns, thistle, or corrupt tree? So which of these is the land beast? Which of these is symbolic? Which did Jesus use symbolically? The parable of the sower and the seed. And some seed fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up, anab-ino, and choked them. Matthew 13:7, which Jesus interpreted as meaning, and that seed which fell among thorns are they which when they have heard go forth, and are choked with cares, and riches, and pleasures of this life, and bring no fruit to perfection. Luke 8:14. And that is the land beast, the false prophet, a thorn that chokes out eternal life.